Nonetheless, we've had some inquiries. I believe that some of the councils had inquiries also on what's going to happen with the property, what we're going to do with it. Just have a bit of a situation because we're trying to figure out, first of all, what do we need to do something with the sidewalk immediately? Is this going to be something that's part of the comprehensive sidewalk program? Um, this is not the only one that's either city property or city right of way. It's also not the only one, just in general throughout the city. I know we have not done a comprehensive study of the sidewalks in Anamosa yet. That was going to be one of the first steps of the sidewalk program. Um, but that got put on hold here a couple of years ago as we kind of did some other bigger projects. There has been some recent legislation that's come down that's kind of prompted us to start taking a look at these again. And I have updated HR Green to get to looking at that. I think last year where we left off, they were going to start off sending some interns out, kind of assessing all the sidewalks throughout the city, get an idea of where we're at. Ultimately, what it boils down to is we kind of got to figure out. It's just putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. Property owners are responsible for their sidewalks, for maintaining, replacing, repairing. Um, and we just kind of need to figure out how we're going to proceed with all that. So just wanted to put this one on there just because this is a more noticeable one, I think, because we took over the property and again demolished the sidewalk when it was damaged.
I guess I would make the point that we have sidewalks on both sides of that street. And we have owned it quite a while now with no progress. We do have a curb stop sticking up and a sewer pipe sticking up in the middle would be sidewalk. And I've had several complaints that as a city, if we can't basically put a sidewalk in on a property that we own, how can we enforce anything else in this town? Valid point. So here we are.
Interesting that you bring it up because one of my issues is, as Mr. Smith pointed out, when we expect our citizens to comply with our requirements for sidewalks. I did a little bit of a drive around this last weekend. I was familiar with several unfinished sidewalks in my subdivision. There are a couple that sort of stick under my saddle just a little bit that have not. There have been houses there that have been on some of the properties for well over 5 years, and we do not have sidewalks out there. We did have one recently. I noticed in our subdivision that after at least 5 years, we got a sidewalk put in. I am with Dan on this one. We own the property, and it's 2 or 3 years that we've owned that property. For sure, I think it was September of 2022. This when it was referred to as not having had a sidewalk since that time. We're going over 30 months past that sidewalk being taken out. I also understand with construction, you don't put your sidewalk in before you put your house up or whatever, but as a city, it's embarrassing to me that we have a property we own that we haven't done anything with. We can't sell it apparently to adjoining owners. I don't know if it's a buildable lot or not. But what other options have we kind of looked at for that particular property? Because that's a neighborhood that when I drove through it the other day, there seemed to be some kids in the neighborhood. If we own it and we're not able to sell it, then have we looked into maybe putting some kind of a park there so we can put a sidewalk in and have a picnic table or do something there? But I don't think we can go on without doing something. It's time for us to get something done there. We also have the issue with what happens Fortunately, nobody's been injured tripping over the pipes that stand up there if they do decide to walk across it. But something has to get done and we can't keep kicking it down the road.
I did step that off and it's about 4 yards of concrete and a little rebar. I guess my question would be, we have done stuff in the city, our employees have, as far as concrete. Why can't they just pour that concrete, that sidewalk? Under $1,000. They do it in-house.
Yeah, and again, I think, not an excuse, but just the way everything has transpired over the last couple of years, it's been uncertainty about that property and others. What are we going to do with it? Are we selling it? Is this going to be part of a future transaction? And the same goes, as Todd, you just pointed out, we do have that issue as well. We will take some calls, at least at City Hall, we'll take calls regarding some new developments of, we just got to figure out how to handle those newer developments where developers or new property owners aren't necessarily required to put sidewalks in immediately. Because as the area around those houses develop, you get these lots where you'll have a sidewalk for a while and then no sidewalk for a lot or two. And we just haven't had anything to address those in the past. So that's really been the sticking point on this is we didn't want to put a sidewalk in necessarily, or at least one of the thoughts was we didn't want to put a sidewalk in if somebody was going to an adjoining property owner, for example, was going to purchase his property and want to put a driveway in or something. And so there just hasn't been any action on it. And that came roughly at the same time as we were talking about this comprehensive sidewalk program and thinking, well, that was something we were going to pursue. We would just include that with the rest when it would get scheduled or handled accordingly. But again, that we didn't take any action on that. And so it's just kind of been a perfect storm of.
Well, when you have a gap or a missing sidewalk in the middle of everybody else on sidewalk on that street. And we all know the city owns it. Everybody up there knows the city owns it. Here again, I think we need to adhere to our own policies. And it is somewhat of a safety concern.
So with the standpipe, I'm assuming when you say standpipe, you're talking about the big white one that's standing there.
That'd be sewer.
Would that have to be relocated?
I don't know why they didn't extend it out when they had it dug up beyond the sidewalk. I don't know who did the work.
That's
not going down that.
behind us.
Yeah. But my thoughts was you dig it up, move it over a little bit. The water shutoff's probably gonna have to stay where it's at, which we have other shutoffs in the town that are in the sidewalk. Just keep it flush. But here again, I'm going right back to, we can do some of this work in-house rather than hire it done. And we do have the equipment. And we do have people with the skills.
Well, I would like to have us, because I think we've got 3 lots now that we own. I would like to see us have a discussion in an upcoming meeting about how to proceed with those 3 lots. Because we're not in the business of owning bare lots.
Well, let me ask this question, Rich, maybe you can remember, because I can't remember. On some of these abandoned alleys, didn't we not sell these abandoned alleys for like 25 cents a square foot?
Some of them did get sold. Well, I know that one up behind Treese Avenue that I look back at the minutes. I wasn't a part of that, but they did sell that for 25 cents.
And I realize the city wants to recoup their money. I believe you said 25,000, have that house taken down. Well, that's a non-conforming lot. It's a very small lot. You can't really build in there without a variance. So I guess I do agree with what Rich says, but I also think this should be done. And we can assess the other 2 after that.
It currently is not generating any revenue for us.
None of them are.
Right, so.
Yeah.
I understand that people may not want to purchase it. However, if we can get it off our non-revenue generating properties, We don't need to be landlords for this stuff. And it's one more responsibility currently. If I were a neighbor, I'd want to make sure that the city was mowing it routinely.
They are. On that one.
Understood, but that's costing us money. It's costing us time and equipment that we don't get back, so we're just kind of throwing money into a pit. We don't get anything out of it. So I am in agreement with, if we've got 3 properties that we own that are doing nothing for us, and we aren't going to do anything with it, then we should have that meeting. But I also think that it's been long enough now that something on this property hasn't been done, and if we have 2 other properties, assuming you're talking about the Garnavillo Street property.
That's one of them.
Okay, that one, to my knowledge, does not have it does not have a sidewalk issue on Garnavillo. It may have a sidewalk issue on First Street, but I don't think there's any sidewalks on that side. But these are things that we can't just keep waiting until somebody says, oh, what about this? We need to have that meeting so we can figure out what we're going to do with those problems.
And the other thing that looks bad up in that area is we spent $250,000 on a street upgrade, handicap accessible, and here we are. That's not handicap accessible whatsoever.
Dan, there is current sidewalk on both sides of this.
Correct.
Property.
Both lots beside it.
Steve?
Steve Angus, Utility Superintendent. The only comment that I would like to make about that, if you guys decide that you're gonna do something different with it, and let's say it's gonna become a park or something like that, if it's gonna be removed, if it's not gonna be a house or anything like that, then we need to take everything back to the main, the water line, the sewer, because otherwise it just poses problems down the road. So just keep that in mind too. So if you guys are gonna have this on the agenda, I probably recommend doing it sooner than later, because if that's what you want to do, then it needs to go back to the main, both the sewer and the water. So don't pose any problems.
To be fair, Steve, the only reason I threw out park, because if we're gonna own it, we should do something with it. If it's just gonna sit there bare, I'm just throwing out ideas. I'm committed to it, but
I just wanted to remind the council though, that if it's going to become a park or something like that, where it's not being used for a house, then the water and the sewer needs to go back to the mains, because otherwise it'll just pose problems down the road.
Yep.
So.
thanks, Steve.
Because I do know there is a park, what, half a block and a half
It's down around the corner.
Yeah.
back
down on
there.
Teresa Avenue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was just food for thought.
yeah.
We can have that discussion as part of the broader discussion of the other 3, but the more immediate issue that I have is that we expect citizens to comply with our rules and ordinances if we're enforcing them, and we should be held to, I think, sort of the same expectation.
Well, can I throw it out? I guess I think the meeting is a good idea to discuss in general these types of situations that we may encounter. A lot of it has been the unique factor that comes into it. So we had some early interest on one of those properties. It was short-lived and we haven't heard anything since. Garnavillo, we've had a lot more, but it's also kind of early since we've just taken it down. This particular one, I have reached out to adjoining property owners several times, and there was a little bit of interest, but it's not been a strong interest, I guess. So they're just all very unique. So I think that meeting is a good idea, but if the council's okay with it, this would, whether it's $1,000 or something else, it will come at a cost. If you want me to start looking at what it's going to take to at least get a sidewalk in, and then we can talk about the general nature of these types of things later, we can do that. And I can bring back that information at our, well, probably not our next meeting, but shortly bring back that information and see how we want to proceed, or if we want to proceed. If that's
If it needs a motion, I would move to. But I would like this. Discussion about the cost of the sidewalk specific to 306 North Davis to be put on the first regular meeting in May, so that it is kept at the top of the list. And if at that point, I guess my motion would be, I want the 306 North Davis discussion on the first regular meeting in May. I'm open to amending it, or if someone wants to.
I'll second that.
Motion by Todd, second by Dan, to include the sidewalk replacement repair at 306 North Davis on the May 1st, May agenda, first meeting. Council, is there any other discussion? You would please state your name.
My name's Bill Fleeler. I live at 401
Residence.
North Davis.
Thank
I'm
you.
about a half a block from your discussion, the project and the sidewalk. I'll date myself a little bit, but I've been in this community since 1951. And there's been a sidewalk there my entire life, with the exception of the last 4 years. And so I don't walk as much as I used to. But when I do, I don't get to go down a sidewalk anymore. The first 30 feet, and then sometimes dirt, sometimes mud, sometimes snow. You get the idea. As far as studies go, they're wonderful. I was involved in many of them. But when you had a sidewalk at this location for as long as this town's been in existence, I don't think anybody needs to be told we need to put in 30 feet of sidewalk. Dan is right on his estimate about 4 square yards. We're already paying salaries, so you basically have material costs. You don't have any labor costs. Another point that I really need to make a little, in my own words, Dan mentioned construction of a street. Specifically, that was Sycamore between Williams and Davis. Lots of money spent. And handicapped accessible corners were put in. Great. So now let's go to today, and you envision a person in a wheelchair going down the sidewalk, crossing Sycamore over to Davis on the west side of Davis and proceeding towards Main Street. This is a sidewalk that goes to Main Street, and they get 30 feet, and now what? There's no sidewalk for them. So not to mention kids that have to walk. I can't tell you how many times I've been at home and seen people go down and then veer out into the street. And Davis is a busy one. And so I don't know. I just, I would like, it's been at least 4 years without one. And that's long enough. So I don't know if you guys can ask me any questions. I'd be happy to answer if you do. But I'm sure there's other areas in this town that need attention as well. But that's what we've got up in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Bill has stated that this neighborhood has been in existence since he's been there. So it precedes 1951.
Pretty close to that neighborhood, yeah.
You begin to look on the east side of 151. That's a newer development area. Those areas had written in my understanding, the development agreements is the property owners were responsible for putting the sidewalk in once they took possession of that residence. Again, this may be so dated that wasn't thought of, or it just wasn't something that was done at the time, that the sidewalk would be placed and maintained. So this is owned by the city. The city is responsible for it as of today. And I will agree, Bill, shame on us. 4 years is long enough. I don't think there was any ill will in not having it put in. It was something that the city had hoped they could possibly sell and then make it the responsibility of someone else. Again, shame on us for doing that. And if we thought that way, for thinking that way. Please go ahead.
I forgot one last comment, and I think it's legitimate as far as what are you gonna do with the rest of the lot? And there was a comment you made about interest in that area. And I know personally, not that I'm interested, but I know people that might be interested in purchasing that, but they're not gonna be interested if they're gonna be responsible for putting the sidewalk in. So, you know, if there's a sidewalk that you guys put in, and that's the other thing, I'm not quite understanding how properties that the city owns are sold. Does the city make a proposal to someone that might be interested? Here's our proposal to purchase it if you're interested. Or does the person that's interested come forward to the city? I actually thought it was the city that made the move to make the request for what you guys were interested in having for it.
That can work. Bill, that can work either way.
Okay.
So we do have a motion to, in a sense, table this, and then we'll have further discussion. I get the sense from council, and I'm just, in a sense, speaking to the public here, that I get the impression that it's gonna be favorable that a sidewalk is placed. If 6 months down the road, this property sells, and someone is permitted to build some type of structure on it, and through truck traffic entering and exiting this property damages the sidewalk, well, it'll be that owner's responsibility to repair. But the city does need to be part of the ordinance that they should be enforcing and be responsible for placing of the sign. Unless council has any other comments or any public comment, I'm going to take this to a vote.
Well, normally in the construction industry, if you need to access over the sidewalk, you just cut the sidewalk, take out what you need to take out, you put it back. It's not a big deal.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I just know current construction.
That's the last thing on a new house.
Right. So I am absolutely embarrassed, Mr. Cleaver, on behalf of the city, that we have not done it. This is, I wasn't on the council when the thing was taken down, but I do agree it has to get addressed. And I think that in 3 weeks, we may have a vote that will be satisfactory, but I think we need to at least have the pause for that period of time.
Brooke, anything else to add?
No,
Dan? Todd, anything for
No,
Rich?
Just that I do agree that we need to be responsible for our properties. Because you're right, we can't tell somebody else to do something if we're not gonna do it ourselves. And it has been at least probably 4 years at this stage of the game.
All right. Gina, would you please conduct a roll vote on the motion by Todd, and that was second by Dan?
Lambert,
yes.
Vogt,
Yes,
Weimer,
yes,
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Motion to review this property sidewalk at the main meeting here.
Could I ask one more thing on this? Could we see bids on this and compare to doing it in-house?
Just go ahead and get bids and compare.
Just get a bid for that
in-house.
sidewalk, but also I just want to compare if we do things in-house, how much money we can save.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Bill and the public, please bear with us. I think you will find what the decision and maybe need to be satisfied. Thanks.
I hope so.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
7.2, review and approve IEDA contract for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project.
The next several agenda items are all related to the phase 3 of the downtown facade project. The first several are through the Iowa Economic Development. And the last two are through ECOG. I can clarify further on these, but they should be pretty standard from what we've done in the previous two phases.
In order for us to proceed, we would need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Any further discussion? Is there any public comment? Gina, please.
Crump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Motion to approve the phase 3 of the project carries. 7.3, review and approve IEDA administrative plan for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Gina?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
Motion to approve the administrative plan carries. 7.4, review and approve IEDA acknowledgement of environmental review requirements for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Gina, please.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve acknowledgement environmental review carries. 7.5, review and approve IEDA authorization for alternate signatures for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project. I will note on this one, this particular one is for our reimbursement forms. So whenever we have a reimbursement coming in through IEDA for these periodic payments that we receive, generally what we have to do is come in. I have to get the mayor's signature on these so we can get these. I've requested that they allow me to do that signature, so it's to receive money, not to authorize anything. It's just so we can sign and we don't have to wait 2 weeks or whatever the delay is to get those reimbursements. So that's what this is for.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Brooke, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Gina?
Robert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Motion to approve authorization carries. We very much like the reimbursements, the incoming versus the outgoing. 7.6, review and approve East Central Iowa Community of Government contract for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Gina, please.
Crump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Motion to approve contract carried. 7.7, review and approve ECOG procurement policies and procedures for phase 3 of the downtown facade improvement project.
Move to approve.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion. Public comment. Gina?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Motion to approve procurement policies carried. 7.8, review and approve lease buyout agreement from Keltec in the amount of $46,680.09 for 2 police department vehicles.
This will, I think we talked about this during budget time. This will allow us to make the final payment on one of those leased vehicles that we currently have and buy it out. As well as, all the other payments for the other vehicle have already been taken care of. It'll allow us to buy that out also.
So is one of these vehicles the one that is planned to be replaced?
I don't believe so. I believe there's an older one yet.
Eric Worthing, Police Chief. Right now, all the vehicles are in a spot where, if we add the SRO, I'd want to keep what we have. And then the next vehicle purchase, we'd see if any of the vehicles need to be replaced at that point. They're all functioning fairly well, but we will need to add one, so we have one dedicated for that SRO. So this will give us the option to free up the budget that's currently tied up in the leases. So those vehicles are ours. And then moving forward, as we go through those replacements, we can add another vehicle to the fleet.
So we would have a need for the vehicle at some point.
Yep. And this will free up the budget, so we aren't buying a vehicle and also paying on 2 leases.
Okay. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Rich, second by Dan. Council discussion. Public comment. I just want to clarify for the public's knowledge. Again, this is to purchase or to pay off 2 of the vehicles currently within the police department's fleet. This is not approval. If it goes through our authorization to go out and purchase 2 new vehicles. I just want to state that for clarification. Gina, would you please conduct a roll call?
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve lease buyout carried. 7.9, review and approve invoice for affordable heating and cooling in the amount of $872.80 to replace the water heater at the Jones County Senior Center.
They reached out to me here a few weeks ago, just said the water heater went bad. We do set aside or allocate funds for some of the buildings and ground supplies for the senior center. But they ended up, we have roughly 4,900 in there, so this is well within that. I advise them just to go ahead and make those necessary transactions and submit it as a pay request for the council to approve, but we will have the funds within that allocated line item to cover these.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
By Todd, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. We have budgeted money for the senior center in the past, and that has gone sometimes unclaimed. And we have budgeted for the next fiscal year for senior center. We'll see where that goes. Just for the record that this money has already been budgeted. Gina, would you please conduct a roll vote?
Bamber,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve invoice carried. 7.10, review and approve consent agenda. Pay request totaling $713,026.33. There are 8 items listed on this council agenda. I will read all 8 off. And council can make a motion that includes consent, which will bring all 8 up for discussion in a single vote. Or council can make a motion on any of the items. Item A from HR Green in the amount of $3,029.50 for cemetery GIS services. Item B from HR Green in the amount of $24,501.23 for the Ford and Huber Street Alley Sewer Project. Item C from HR Green in the amount of $2,185 for the Anamosa Sidewalk Project. Item D from HR Green in the amount of $2,112 for the Engineering Master Service Agreement. Item E from HR Green in the amount of $264 for the Dillon Military Bridge Project. Item F from HR Green in the amount of $4,180.50 for the Third Street Sidewalk Extension Project. Item G from Snyder and Associates in the amount of $16,504.10 for the wastewater treatment plant flow EQ basin project. Item H from WRH Inc. in the amount of $660,250 for the wastewater treatment plant flow EQ basin project.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Brooke. Council, feel free to discuss any of those 8 items.
On the 2G and H, the wastewater treatment flow EQ basin project. Are these final payments or do we still have things do we still have more bills coming?
Yes, we have more bills coming.
Public comment? Gina, please.
Trump,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Gumbert.
Yes.
Consent motion carried. 8.0 City Administrators Report.
I just wanted to document, I put out on our website and brought some flyers tonight. Our City of Anamosa Comprehensive Plan Open House is scheduled for May 6th, 2025 from 5 to 7 p.m. As everybody knows, and we're trying to get up to the public, we are updating our comprehensive plan. We're working with ECOG to help us do this, and they're helping us coordinate this open house to get as much public input and involvement on this process as we can get. So please feel free to stop by and check that out. And the state auditors are in City Hall this week. Yes.
Also, you have any questions or comments for Jeremiah? Thanks for that report. 9.0 Mayor and Council reports. 9.1 Mayor's report. This past Saturday was the city cleanup. I stopped down there in the early morning. There was a nice entourage of city staff there to fulfill the needs of anybody that was dropping off unwanted items. Jane, I don't want to rule you out. Steve, take back to your departments, thanking the individuals for being there to assist the residents of the city on the cleanup. Thanks. 9.2 Council reports.
Well, I just want to follow up on your comment because I stopped down there about 8:10 or 8:15, and Shane said that they already had one dumpster on the way to the dump and were fastly filling up more, so they had a early good turnout. So thank you guys.
I got down there about 10:15 with a little bit of refreshments. There were a long line of cars and trucks pulling into the dump off site, so they were busy at that time too, so it looked like things were going well.
this would be out of the normalcy. What is the mayor that oversees this meeting? I'm gonna go there with it. Shane, could you just come on up and give a brief report on how you think the whole thing went?
Good evening, Shane Brown, Street Superintendent. So as everybody knew, we started at 7. We actually had our first pool table before I got there at 6 o'clock. And we finished at noon. I know we had probably people that wanted to come and do more, but we condensed it so we didn't have the last minuters. We had a lot of families that brought 2 and 3 loads of stuff. So I figured out it was a pretty good win for the day. I don't have the tallies of how much we took in. I do know we took a dump truck load of tires and a tonner load of tires in today. And we filled 2.5 dumpsters of steel. So I would say that's a pretty good win for us this year. And I think we did 5 big dumpsters of garbage, your couches and beds and whatever. I feel like it did very well. We did have a lot of people and it was very consistent for the most of the day. So thank you all for coming and doing what you did for us. We appreciated it very well. Everybody that I talked to that day was happy that we were doing it. So thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
So I will agree with Shane, that type of volume is a win-win for the city. Obviously, there will be some costs associated, we understood that. But to me, what that type of volume, what it prevents, or either prevents or didn't clean up. Let's start with cleanup. That it got it off of the properties and no longer considered nuisance. Or what it did is prevented that stuff from getting outside onto the properties to become a nuisance. Change words, it's a win-win for the community and for the residents. So it is good to hear that we had such a volume. And pool tables just at the liberty to move a few. I don't care to move any anymore. So, but nice work, Shane. Community, I very much appreciate for you utilizing this resource that we provided in cleaning up some unwanted items that you disposed of. 10.0 public comment for items not on the agenda.
Eric Whirling, Police Chief. I wanted to let the council know how things went at 122 South Garnavillo. Demolition started in the morning of April 7th. It was entirely taken under by Anamosa employees. It went as smoothly as I think it could have been. I don't believe we had any injuries. We didn't have any issues. The lot is finished. It is leveled out. It looks fantastic. It was super smooth. And I would be willing to bet we had at least a dozen people either stop by or swing by and give us thumbs up and say thank you and given the city employees kudos. So I want to say thank you to Steve, Shane, everybody in their department. They did a fantastic job.
Glad to see it gone.
Thanks, Chief. I have received multiple inquiries from the public that they are glad it's been removed, and it was a long time coming. Anyone else?
Hello, Erin, Library Department. Just wanted to let you know the city and I have been working with the Iowa Works Department and States Work Corps, and we are going to be hosting a Resume 101 and like a resume lab here at the library on this Friday. So we're very excited. We're going to have them come down. It's going to be a what not to do, what to do on a resume, and then the last 2 hours are going to be helping people one-on-one. So anyone who comes should leave with a completed or almost completed resume. And then the next week on April 27th, the library is going to be hosting a job fair. So you've got a resume. What do you do with it? Well, let's try and get people a job. So we are still accepting like businesses and stuff like that to table at the event. So if you know anyone that is currently hiring, please send them my way. Again, that's going to be at the library. So just want to let you know.
Thanks, Aaron. Those are two fabulous activities or resources to put on to offer to the public. those are the things that, in my opinion, really foster a sense of community. Nice work for what is to come yet.
Was your job fair on the 25th?
27th, so it's on a Sunday.
Oh,
So we
Sunday.
wanted to make sure all the businesses could make it, because usually businesses are closed on a Sunday, so we were hoping all the employers could send someone down. So, and if they can't make it, we've had one person that said, I can't send an employee down, we said, just send us your stuff, we'll put a table there, and that way people know that you're hiring, so.
Anyone else? 11.0 adjournment. This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thank you.